First of all, I'll just move over here. I want to thank my buddy Chan for kicking off this day. I know we actually talked about this last week. I thought I was the first one, but no, we had an 8 o'clock as the first one. So thank you for energizing the audience. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Luis, for making me cry. That really helped kick off my presentation. Just kidding. But also, I want to thank you because it's really a pleasure for me to be here and be among such an amazing group of digital marketing mavens. I am so thrilled to learn from all of you. But I have to say, we have been focused on the what. In trying to create the best brand stories for the digital space, we have been focusing on what people are doing and trying to take advantage of that behavior. We have been feverishly examining what's being shared. We carefully calculate how many mobile apps we're on, right? And then we see, what's the top watch video, and how can I be the next Harlem Shake and Gangnam Style? And I get it. I get this focus on the what. There is so much cool data coming at us all the time telling us what people are doing, where they're doing it, and on what cool new platforms they're doing it on. But allow me to pause for a second and go back to my advertising, or more particularly, my brand planning roots. And let's compare what's going on in digital with how we create really powerful brand stories. And Luis talked about this, right? For a brand to truly connect with its consumers, with its customers, it can't just speak about what it does, it has to speak about the why. Why it truly matters in our lives, what role a brand plays, right? So we talked about Dove. Dove isn't just about a quarter cup of moisturizing cream anymore, right? It's a brand that champions self-esteem. It's the why that touches our souls. It's the why that speaks to our ideals and our goals and our values. And it's the why that leads to powerful brand ideas like Sketches or Campaign for Real Beauty. So where's the why of digital? Is there a why of digital? Yes, there is a lot of why in digital. We are so enamored with our platforms and our devices and our gadgets, not just because of how cool or how functional they are, but because they actually tap and allow us to express and unleash deep-seated human needs, fundamental desires, aspirations, and goals like no other place. There is a ton of why there. So what does that mean for us marketers? We shouldn't just look at the digital space as a bunch of platforms and screens to dump our brand stories onto. No. We should leverage that inherent human value of digital. We should ask, where is the why? We should continually try to find it, right? So instead of just asking, what are people sharing? We should ask, why are people sharing? And what if we stop just looking at what apps we're using, but ask ourselves, what cultural values are those apps tapping? And what if we stopped laughing hard enough and long enough at Harlem Shake and Gangnam Style that we wonder, what in the world drove those freaks to make those videos in the first place? And this is where it gets really exciting. Because imagine if you take the why of the brand, right? What's so meaningful about the brand? And you overlay on top of it the why of digital. What's so meaningful about digital? How deeply you're going to connect with your consumer, with your follower, with your customer. The equation becomes very simple. Why of brand plus why of digital equals a really deeply compelling brand story and experience. And get this, when you know the why, not just the what, the how, that which keeps us up at night, the how becomes so much easier. Now, at this point, you're probably saying, okay, what did I just put in my coffee this morning? Right? I mean, what is this? The why of digital and fundamental human values, and what the hell does that mean for brands? And so to bring this to light, and I actually have to only begin to bring this to light because I only have 20 minutes, so I can only give you a taste today. But hopefully we can talk some more at the breaks. For me to bring this to light, I had to do some digging on my own. And so I collaborated with the same folks that I used to work with in advertising to help me understand the symbolic value of a Cheeto, right, or Coca-Cola, anthropologists. And then I added some neuroscience and some childhood psychology to the mix. And what we found was fascinating. Here we go. Now, if you asked me, what is this? I'd say, well, it's a picture I took on my mobile phone in this rural area, in northern kind of Hudson Valley area, of a farmhouse with goats next to it. But if you asked me why I took this picture, the answer is much more interesting and much more profound. Now, there's no question that we can't live without our mobile phones, right? I mean, the functionality of them is just tremendous. There's no way I would have gotten to this stage without my mapping app and without my calendar function, right? But our relationship with mobile goes far deeper than that. And this is just one example of this. Now, we all live in a highly virtual world where we can have a hangout, or Skype if you want, a hangout with people from Timbuktu, Texas, and Tokyo all at the same time. But we still are hardwired. We still have a fundamental need to want to connect with the physical places and spaces that surround us. That's why we care about decorating our homes. That's why we care about the local haunt around the corner. These places ground us emotionally. They serve as our foundational compass. Even Winston Churchill said, we shape our buildings, and afterwards our buildings shape us. Every place has our memories attached to it, and these memories constantly remind us of who we are. And we call this act of making meaning with places, placemaking. And mobile allows us to placemake like never before. I'll give you an example. I see a restaurant around the corner from me. Before I entered, I can go look up the history of that restaurant. Who's the chef there? What's the genre of the restaurant? Why was it founded? Then I go in, I find the best seat thanks to Yelp. I sit down, I order a meal, beautiful dish. I take a picture, I send it to my friend. My friend immediately texts me back and says, oh my God, that's the restaurant that my boyfriend proposed to me at. Oh, and by the way, add some chipotle sauce to that dish. All of that texting, that picture taking, that investigating, all of that helps me add value and meaning to that place. And this picture is no longer just a picture of goats in a farmhouse, right? It's a way for me to add value and meaning to that rural area near where I live. Now, a great app that has tapped into this is Field Trip. And what Field Trip allows you to do is to walk along any street, and when you happen upon a structure, a sculpture, or a monument, you pick up your mobile phone, and through the portal of your phone, you get a layer of story, just like that card. You get a layer of story about that place. And all of a sudden, the regular streets around you turn into a living museum. Now, have any brands tapped into this? And I have to say, not a lot. I think we're all so enamored with the location capabilities of mobile in a transactional way. Oh, there's a McDonald's around the corner, let me remind people, and they can get a discount. But there's so much more going on at this placemaking level. And then I ran across this example. Bob Dylan. He's a brand, right? And he had to promote his sub-brand, The Tempest. Now, what I love about the story is that for so long, Dylan eschewed the social media space, and then he did a flip. And he created this mobile-only application where he picked locations, spaces, and places around the world. This is through Sound Graffiti, that's the app, that had meaning to his current and past music. And in those places, you could unlock the songs from his new album. So what was so wonderful about this experience is that not only do you get the surprise and delight of hearing a new song, but then you have a story that is overlaid onto that place nearby. You can therefore add meaning and value to that place. So I urge you as brands, right? Leverage this location capability of mobile to help people placemake, to help people add meaning and value to the local places and spaces that surround them. They want to do that anyway, and they will be so pleased when you give them some story that connects back to your brand. Help them dimensionalize their neighborhoods and turn them into living museums. Now, clearly you all spend your lives in the digital space, so you know those goats I was talking about before have made their way around. But in this way, it's quite different. Take a look.
And I wish you joy and happiness. But above all this, I wish you love. And I will always love you.
This cracks me up every time. And you know, you've seen all the incarnations of this, right? My daughter can't sing one of those Taylor Swift songs without singing the goat part of it. Now, when I first saw these incarnations of the goat videos, I was like, what the fuck is this, right? And then I took a step back and I asked, why is this? Now, what's interesting is we all share the same impulse. Deep down, all of us want to be creative. We all want to find a way for our ideas to be made manifest, for us to leave our mark. And digital allows us to be creative like no other place. Now, yes, we know that there are endless tools and applications to make stuff with, the Photoshops, the Instagrams, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the web's ability to tap the child's mind. You see, there's ample evidence to show that children create synapses at an amazingly high rate, much faster than us adults. And you know that the synapses are those connections between the neurons, and it's the synapses that lead to creative ideas. How many of you have children? Right? Okay. So I'm sure you hear, oh, you should expose your children to all these different cultures and people and places and spaces. Why? Why? So that they create more synapses. The more random, the better. We want to connect that which seems disconnected. We are hardwired to want to do that. Even Leonardo da Vinci talks about that we cannot, our brains cannot fathom unconnected elements. We want to find that connection. We dig it, we love it. And children do this all the time. And what's more, the reason why this synaptic play is so prevalent with children is that they lack the rules of order and logic and linearity that we attain as we age. Right? Anything goes. Anything goes together. So I think of my daughter again. She comes to the kitchen table quite often at breakfast, wearing polka dots on the top and stripes on the bottom. And so what do I tell her? You gotta go change. I can't have her leaving the house looking like that, right? And she says, what do you mean? I came up with a new idea, a new look. And I'm thinking, well, you broke the rules of attire, right? It's this freedom from order and logic and linearity that allowed children to mix and match with abandon and come up with all these novel solutions so easily. Well, the web gives us a return to that state, right? Because it allows us to go adventuring through a whole array of imagery and clips, be them old or new, from a world away or our own backyard. They're at our fingertips, and we start mixing and matching. We become a bricoleur, as the anthropologists call it, without notions of time or space or tone, right? There's no such thing as a 30-second spot here or a 30-minute TV show. Anything goes. Anything can go together. Sites like YouTube and Pinterest allow us to explore various categories simultaneously and unearth gems to play with. Whitney Houston and a screaming goat would never, ever have gone together 5 years ago. But you know what happens? Somebody has access to Whitney Houston and hears that her high note, which is a B flat, anybody a musician here? Okay, so if I get it wrong, but anyway, The high note of Whitney Houston's song is a B flat, which also happens to be the end note of the Screaming Goat. And so somebody heard it, saw it, puts it together and says, I see this connection, and downloads it, and then splices it, edits it, and uploads it to the world, and there's an incarnation after incarnation of it, right? That's what's going on here. When we play in the web like this, we are allowing ourselves to delve into this space and start creating this synaptic play where mixing, matching, mimicking are in full reign, right? And what's more, even if we're not literally the ones that are taking these different pieces and putting them together, even if we're just appreciating them, watching them, sharing them, we are celebrating this. And by the way, we have to actually engage in some kind of synaptic play ourselves, because we have to say, how in the world does Whitney Houston and goats go together? And then we start examining it, and we get engaged in it, and we like it. And we're so thrilled by it, and we want to share it. And we're basically saying to the creator, I like the way you synapse. I appreciate it. So no wonder, what does the Fox say, garnered 200 million views in the first month and a half. You've all seen this, right? This is synaptic play. Have you guys not seen this? Okay, no? Oh man, I'm gonna have to play it. Okay, but let me just give you a flavor of it. This is synaptic play at its best. You have this Josh Groban lookalike singing soulfully to what you think is his girlfriend, but instead you have characters dressed up people dressed up as animals, and what he's really talking about is a fox, and how a fox talks. It's crazy shit, but people are liking it because they go, oh, I see what you're doing, I see the mixing and matching in this synaptic play, and I like it. I like the way you synapse. And I'm gonna go share that. I'm gonna go view it, and I'm gonna go share that with the world. So what does that mean for you guys, for us brands, right? Let's not look at the video space in digital as just another platform to dump our B-roll into, right? Let's understand what's truly going on here, that there's a synaptic play. We should fuel what people are already doing, and they are doing it about your brands. Fuel it or give them the opportunity to partake in it. Don't be linear here. Leverage this. They will so appreciate it. Great example. Anybody know what this is? Dancing Pony? Okay, so Telecom Company 3, this is a telecom company, created a Dancing Pony video, right? That's kind of weird, but you kind of I like the way they synapse. But then what they did is they created this tool by which you can go and create your own Dancing Pony. You can add any music style you want, overlay with any visual effect. So I had, this is my pony, and then you could share it with people. And so the pony dances to the music, and it's Bollywood meets funk. But I think the best example, and we all know this, right? What is this? Dumb Ways to Die, right? Why is this such a wonderful example of synaptic play? Because 10 years ago, right, this is about a very serious message of getting yourself killed, right, by crossing the train tracks. And so 10 years ago, they probably would have created very expensive documentaries that pulled at your heartstrings and showed people dying or their relatives dying, right? But that's not what these guys did. They said, we're going to leverage this space. They didn't do it consciously, but they recognized what was going on here. So they took an upbeat song, connected it, married it with childlike imagery, oh yeah, and added morbid scenes and talked about a storyline or talked about a message that was very serious. And people went, whoa, I like the way you synapse. And it caught the world by storm. Now, clearly you see I'm liking these screaming goats, or goats in general. But I wasn't content just to watch them. I had to share them. And in this case, I shared them with my kids. This is what happened the first time they saw them.
Start from the beginning.
So why did I want to share this goat video? Is it that I wanted to see it again? No, I wanted to see the looks on their faces and hear their peals of laughter. Why do we want to share these crazy, funny goat videos or just funny videos in general, or funny GIFs and clips and memes. And yes, people share a lot of very serious stuff too. They do. But a lot of what we share, and we have the data to show it, a lot of what we share is this funny, laugh out loud stuff. Why? I'll tell you why. It's not just that we want to show off and say, I saw it first. There's a bit of that, but it goes deeper than that. On one level, we want to share these funny videos because we want to show the world that we're full of life and happiness and sense of humor. But on an even deeper level, we want to share these funny GIFs and clips and memes because we want others to experience this happiness with us. In fact, we get a rush of pleasure in knowing that other people experiences happiness and pleasure with us. Are we being altruistic? No. We're hardwired to want to do this. Take a look at this. You see, from our very earliest days, from our first few months of life, we learn that by offering others happiness, we get that much more in return. Our first emotional response, our first emotional gift of happiness is the smile. Donald Winnicott calls it the social smile. And what happens when babies smile at their mothers? What happens? The mother smiles back, and this baby feels a rush of pleasure. Right? Because he or she knows that she's loved. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to show that when babies start smiling like this, the mother-baby bond escalates. By the way, Steven Johnson just came out with a book where he talks about tickling and how we've been tickling for eons and how even chimps tickle their young, right? Seriously, because they want to evoke this laughter, this coming out of the gut laughter, because they know it connects them with their young. Right? And this extends to our larger social network as well. We learned that by offering others happiness, others this kind of sense of joy, we get that much more in return because we feel bonded to them. So when we share a funny video or clip or meme, we're not just sharing it, we are sharing in it. And we are not just a consumer of this energy, we are now a provider of it too, constantly fueling this connection, this what we call energy exchange, that reminds us that we're connected to others. Right? When I send a video to you, I'm reminded that you're going to laugh and you're going to feel that much more connected to me. And in the end of the day, I feel that to you and to you and to you, I matter. So as a brand, be a source of energy here. Gift happiness. I'm not talking about that contrived, ha-ha shit you see on TV. That's not what I'm talking about. Nobody really laughs at that stuff. I'm talking about stuff that makes you go, oh, you breathe in that breath of like effervescence and something comes out. It's joy, it's awesomeness, it's laughter. Create that. And when you test for the effectiveness of your videos in the video space, don't just look for message recall. Look for laugh out loud moments, because believe me, they will not only feel that much more connected to you, but they will want to share that with others, because they will want to fuel their connection with others. No wonder Pepsi Max and Jeff Gordon Presents garnered 33 million views on the first month of YouTube, right? And by the way, it wasn't gratuitous. They incorporated the Pepsi Max story beautifully. Or here's a question for you. How many of you have ever seen a funny tampon ad? Ever? Right? Yeah, me neither. But then HelloFlow came out with this piece of content. And overnight, the brand became a success. This is a funny piece of content. If I had time, I would show it to you. But it's hilarious about your period. Hello, Camp Gyno. Or Goodbye Camp Gyno, rather. And my last example, this is a great one because this is a very serious example, right? This is a Ted's AdWords spreading winner, Follow the Frog. And this was about environmental catastrophe, right? And when you think about environmental catastrophe, what do you think about? You think about, icebergs melting and animals out of their habitat. But they decided to make a long-form piece of hilarity. And you will never forget the message as a result. So, do I have a second to play? Yes, no? Yes? Okay, let's go.
You are a good person. You spend time with your family. You work out at the gym.
Come on, push.
You conserve water while showering. You like nice clothes. You give to charity. You recycle. You drive a Prius, but you use your bike when you can. You enjoy the occasional distraction at work, and you always send a card on Mother's Day. Always. But there's a part of you that tells yourself that you're not so good, that you could be doing more, that the world is falling apart at the seams, and all you've been doing is yoga. One day you see that the rainforest is being destroyed at a staggering rate of 32 million acres a year. That's the equivalent of one football field every 78 seconds. You feel bad, angry, guilty. You've been apathetic for too long. You want to do something about it. You must do something about it. Well, this is what you're not going to do.
I quit.
You're not going to quit your job, leave your family, get on the next flight to Nicaragua, take a bus to the edge of the jungle, then hoof it across rivers, lakes, and streams on a quest to the very heart of the rainforest.
Take me to the heart of the rainforest.
You're getting closer. You're almost there. You have arrived.
You're not going to ingratiate yourself with the local tribesmen, go to great lengths to earn their respect and trust.
No.
It is around now you realize you're living out the cliche gringo fantasy of becoming an honorary native and leading the resistant forces. But screw it. If they could do it, so can you.
I'm gonna save you! This guy comes over here, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pull a zapping bats right through him, right over here.
You're not going to coordinate and occupy the rainforest movement, realize it's hopeless, summon the power of the gods, lead a revolution against the deforesters and their multinational employers in an apocalyptic, once-and-for-all battle to save humanity, only to awaken 2 days later in an El Salvadorian hospital with 2 toes missing on your left foot.
Syria, I wanna go home!
Hobble out of Central America, up through Mexico, across the Sierra Madre, where you break down, have your first cigarette in 4 years, accidentally start a wildfire, killing off the endangered species that once served as your occupational distraction, finally make it back home, only to find you've been replaced at work by a guy named TJ, and that things at home are not what they used to be. You're not going to do any of these things, but what you can do is follow the frog. Buying Rainforest Alliance certified products ensures the future of our rainforests, so that you don't have to do the things you shouldn't do anyway. Just follow the frog.
So I know I'm running out of time. If there's one thing that you take away from this little discussion, it's that instead of asking what are people doing or what the F are people doing, you ask why are they doing what they're doing? What's driving them? What's motivating them to do what they're doing in the digital space, even that craziness that they're doing? And instead of asking, where is our goat? We ask, why goats? Because it's the why that's going to lead to the how and connect you that much stronger and that much more powerfully with your consumer. Thank you.